returning from recess back into open session. Dr. Meyer, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And Dr. Meyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and fellow board members. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence. It is with much sadness that I share that one of our previous school board members passed away on June 27th. Mrs. Broughton, with whom I worked for many, many years, served on the school board from 1991 to May of 2006 and was a champion of Spotsylvania County students and staff in countless ways. Please join me in this moment of silence as we remember and celebrate her numerous contributions to the division and the community. Mrs. Broughton touched the lives of many and will be missed tremendously. Thank you.
Ms. Shelley.
Thank you. It is with much sadness that I share that one of our employees recently passed away. I had the pleasure of working with Kevin Elkins, the former band director at Nye River Middle School, and he was also the assistant band director at Riverbend High School, marching band director. He passed away on July 11th. Please join me for a moment of silence as we celebrate his dedication to the students of Spotsylvania County. During the 5 years that he worked for our division, he inspired our students with his love of music, and he will be greatly missed.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer and Ms. Shelley. We have no public hearing tonight. Please note the consent agenda items and the informational items. There's no instructional highlight this evening, no recognitions and awards. And we'll move on to public comments. Dr. Martin.
Madam.
Oh, yes, we have to actually approve the consent agenda. Dr. Martin.
On the consent agenda this evening are the minutes of the June 12th regular meeting, the June 26th and July 10th special meetings, donations which are usual and customary, approval of the 2017-18 calendar of events, and public amendment number 1, approval of the Bridges grant. Staff asks that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Meyer to approve the consent agenda, second by Mr. Braswell. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. As I mentioned, note the informational items, the no instructional highlight, recognitions, or awards, and on to public comments with Dr. Martin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The public comment segment of our board meetings is a time to receive recommendations, suggestions, concerns, and comments from the general public. Each speaker is allotted 5 minutes, and we ask that they clearly state their name, address, and/or voting district for the board. A speaker may request additional time from the board should one's 5-minute allotment expire. We ask that you keep your comments focused on the issues and that all speakers maintain a level of decorum and mutual respect for one another. At this time, Madam Chair, we don't have anyone signed up.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board? Well, seeing none, we will move on to special reports. Are there any board committee reports this evening? Mr. Blaine?
No. Just like to speak for a couple of minutes about the Commonwealth Governor's School, just to update you, just a year-end of a report. We had 146 seniors from our region who graduated in 2017. From our own division, we had 11 from Cortland High School, 11 from Massaponax, 6 from Spotsylvania, 10 from Chancellor, and 21 from Riverbend. And 100% of those graduates are enrolled and off to college in a couple of months. During the summer, CGS set up a program to give kids an opportunity for several different kind of enrichment events. There was a STEM camp held in June 19th to the 23rd, sponsored by our CGS math teachers and Dahlgren computer programmers and engineers. CGS often is able to reach out beyond our own staff here and into the community for additional support, and you'll notice that. In June 28th, they took a day trip to the International Spy Museum and heard a special presentation from a retired CIA case officer who had spent a majority of her career running operations against al-Qaeda terrorists and illicit foreign networks. There was a group went for a week of boating, canoeing, and camping with members of the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, an opportunity to see the value of this terrific place that we have. And you've been reading about it, I know, as we look at sediment and other things that the Chesapeake Bay is fighting. We had a visit to Georgetown University and the United States Capitol and meeting with Congressman Whitman. And there's a private screening to Kill a Mockingbird and a historical film talk at the Library of Congress. They've really tried to do a number of outreach things and recognize that this is a year-round kind of activity. We have 31 new students coming from to the River Bend site in this new year, and we have 30 at Spotsylvania High. And they have set up a new student orientation that will take place on August 8th, including a parent technology and information meeting so that we can try to include the parents in some of the activities that they're doing. And finally, there's an advanced placement boot camp in August. 23rd and 27th will be at Riverbend High School, AP Biology. We have an environmental science program will take place at Stafford. And CGS covers Stafford and Spotsylvania, Caroline, and King George. So we have students from all four counties. And then we have a European history program on AP at Spotsylvania High School on the 31st of August. So these kids have a full summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blaine. Ms. Shelley?
Thank you. This is actually not a board committee report, but I wanted to introduce Miss Cassie Palmer, who is our newest school board member. She was appointed last week. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew who this new face on the board was. So everybody please welcome Miss Cassie Palmer.
As that was going to tie into my board committee report, because Ms. Cassie Palmer is going to take Mrs. Blaylock's place on the Audit and Finance Committee. So we will have that position filled for the rest of the year. So welcome to that committee, and that's when I was going to do that. Any other board committee reports?
Just one highlight. Mr. Braswell and I are co-teaming or co-chairing or co-serving on the Cortland High Renovation Committee. You know, I'm replacing Mrs. Blaylock. Those are some big shoes to fill. So each of us Cassie and I are taking turns filling in Mrs. Blaylock's positions. Thank you.
Okay, any other board committee reports? Okay, on to action items. 14.01, first reading approval of revisions to the school board policies for FY17 cyclical review. So the policies were posted and up for review over the weekend. Does anybody like to make a motion?
Recommended action.
Mr. Blaine moves to approve the first reading of revisions to school board policies. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Meyer. Any discussion?
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to remove from consideration as a block student transfer regulations for considering approval requests as JCR. Do you want me to explain why now, or do you want me to wait?
You could discuss.
I'd just like to just remove that for consideration on its own.
So that was open for discussion, so you can discuss why if you would like.
Okay. Well, when you look at the, our current policy is very restrictive as it pertains to student transfers. So we have several schools in the district that are well above capacity, and in accordance with our attendance zones, that current regulation as it's currently written does not provide us the flexibility at the division level to use other creative methods to allow students that are in certain zones that are kind of sitting in the middle to attend other schools. And I think we need to have or consider a third priority. We have two priorities right now, but we need to have a third priority, which allows the division the opportunity to grant waivers for less restrictive considerations.
Mr. Blaine, being the motioner, do you accept the friendly amendment?
It's not clear to me where exactly that's going.
Well, let me give some examples. I've had I have constituents that live in the Lees Park area of the county, and those students are scheduled and are district to go to Massaponax High School, but they live within a mile of Cortland High School. And or examples, there are several times when students want to have the opportunity to say, you know what, I want to pick to go to Cortland High School because it would be much more feasible. But the current waiver requirements are extremely restrictive, and it precludes them from doing that. And I'm just saying that there should be a third set of options that are a little bit more liberal, so that people that have other considerations would be able to make a fair request for consideration for transfer.
And what is the policy number?
It's JCR.
Yes, I'll accept that.
Dr. Baker?
Point of order, I think that the policies that are before the board right now do not include that policy, but I do think the discussion is certainly fine for you all to have. That's not one of, I believe, the 70.
I have
Is it?
index policy, cyclical first.
It's already been deferred, yeah.
It's already been deferred.
Yeah.
Has been.
It was already deferred, so the board would not be, going back to your original motion, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was clear that that one had already been deferred.
That had already been deferred.
So that's deferred, and that's not going to be considered in this.
Okay, good.
Okay, then I redact mine.
You remove your friendly amendment.
Thanks for the clarification. I was not quite sharp enough to pick it up.
Okay, so the friendly amendment is withdrawn. We have the original motion. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Ms. Shelley.
I'm just going to let our policy typists and understand know. I found a couple of typos that I will be sending on after this. So I just want to make them aware.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the first reading approval of the revisions to the school board policy that was currently listed on board docs? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. On to 14.02, the first reading approval of revisions to VSBA policy updates from February 2017. Do we have a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Ms. Shelley,
I will second.
second from Mr. Blaine. Any discussion on the VSBA policy updates?
I would just like
Mr. Blaine?
to point to read these things carefully, and we make clarifications in preparation for the second. So we've got a lot of time to do that, so.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Braswell, Mr. Twigg, are you in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We're on to 14.03, Ms. Finley and Lacey. No, just Ms. Finley.
If Mr. Upperco could join me, please. This is for the Safeguard Superstar safety seats, which was an IFB that went out, correct? This is for IFB 0626-2017-1100, and the school division issued the invitation for bid for the Safeguard Superstar safety seats for use by the Spotsylvania County Public Schools. The procurement was advertised on EVA and on the division's website, published on our purchasing section. Seats will be purchased on an as-needed basis, and they're actually to replace seats that are reaching the manufacturing expiration dates. There were 2 bids that were received, which were for Sunny Merriman. They were $135.99 per seat, and Kingmore Supply also submitted a bid of $160 per seat. Our recommendation is that you accept the low bid of $135.99 per seat from Sunny Merriman. This will be a contract for 1 year from date of award with 4 possible renewals. And again, this will be on an as-needed basis. So we're anticipating that it will reach over $100,000 over the life of the contract.
Do we have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion by Dr. Meyer to approve the Safeguard Superstar safety seats,
Second.
and a second from Ms. Shelley. Any discussion, questions? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Upco. Now, Ms. Finley, would you like to stay for 14.04 and be joined by Mr. Hockaday for the compactor inspection and repair?
Yes, thank you. And I apologize, I forgot to say good evening. So good evening, everyone. I just got right into it. Thank you, Mr. Hoggaday. This was a last-minute change of people to be able to come up, and I appreciate you doing that. Yes, ma'am. The school division issued another invitation for bid for the compactor inspection and repair for use by the division. The procurement was advertised on EVA and the division's procurement website. And it was, this will be for yearly inspection and as-needed repairs. 2 bids were received and evaluated based on the attached bid scenario, and I have an additional copy if nobody got to see that. The summary is below. Mid-Atlantic Waste Systems was for $5,240, and ProWare System was $2,768. We're recommending that you accept the low bid of $2,768 from ProWare Systems. The contract will again be for a 1-year period from date of award with 4 possible renewals. And once again, we're looking at maybe $100,000 over the life of the contract.
Make the motion, please.
Motion by Ms. Shelley to approve the recommended action.
I have a-
Second.
It's $100,000.
Excuse me, sir. A second by Dr. Meyer. Now, Mr.
Oh, I
Blank.
thought that was done.
We hadn't had the second yet. Now discussion, Mr. Blank.
Is the $100,000 just a guesstimate? You have any reason for thinking that what they find will be wrong will add up to that amount of money?
Well, this is for as-needed services, repairs, things for that, and of that nature. And we're looking at 34 machines over the over the span of 5 years. So it does have the potential just in normal inspections and
Sure.
repairs, wear and tear, that kind of thing.
So it's kind of an educated estimate.
Yes, sir,
Yeah,
based
okay.
on previous
Yeah.
contracts and so forth.
Good. Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Shelley?
What is a compactor?
It's actually the big loud machines that are behind the buildings that take all of our trash, squish it down so that we don't have to have it hauled away or emptied quite as often. Is anything? Very good. Or anything else to kind of save costs on having, things hauled away and that kind of.
Okay, and they're behind there, we have them one for each one of our buildings.
Yes, sir. Except there is one exception where 2 buildings share one machine just because of the location of the buildings and the proximity.
Dr. Meyer?
Curiosity, when you have 2 bids and they're so far apart, Were they reading the same specifications?
I verified that. It's actually a requirement that if our bids are more than 10% different, that I have to verify that the low bidder didn't make a mistake. I
Correct.
was able to do that with the vendor. I actually sat down and talked with him and also followed up via email. So, yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Palmer?
So the yearly inspection cost, is that a fixed cost? Has it already been determined, or could that change over the course of the 5 years?
It is fixed for the contract period, which is 1 year.
Okay.
The vendor does have an opportunity to request an increase in that cost, and we do have the right to deny the increase if we don't have the budget for it. Oops, pardon.
Just to add, the yearly inspection is also, not only covers the inspection of the equipment to see if it's operating right, but also all the safety requirements on the equipment, because we have safety latches, lockouts, key lockouts, so it's for safety purposes as well as inspecting the equipment itself.
Any more questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the recommended action?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to item 15.01, unfinished business. Does anybody have any unfinished? Dr. Meyer?
Madam Chair, at our last meeting, we did talk about, I think was at the request of Ms. Shelley, to take a look at policy BCA, the term of the chair. And if I would request staff would take a look at that policy, because it's in our minutes that it would come back to us for second reading. So if that could be done for the August meeting, because we approved it for first reading. Thank you.
Ms. Shelley?
Dr. Meyer, would that be something we would discuss at a workshop, being our,
It's an action item.
okay. Or the wording of it, would we need to worry about that at a workshop, or since it's just very straightforward, we can go for it that way?
If they, I don't anticipate needing a lot of discussion. Just wanted to make sure, because the language in the current policy says the term of the chair not to be consecutive. So I'm thinking that, that language can easily be amended, edited, and brought back to the board, and it should be pretty clear.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
We'll just send out the draft to all the board members, and they can take a look at it. If they have any feedback, we can just funnel it back to us, and then we'll share that feedback, and you can collectively make your decision.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Any other unfinished business? Okay, we have some still from the June meeting. I still have some board members that have not given their nominations for the School Board Advisory Committee, since we are planning to have our first meeting in August, hopefully towards the end of August, since I'm still waiting on some names. We will be able to get that. I got some this week, and so we will be hoping to meet towards the end of August. On to 15.02, any new business? Seeing no new business, does anyone have a motion for adjournment? So motion to adjourn by Ms. Shelley, second by Dr. Meyer. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.